At the age of 4, Alexander Pichushkin was hit on the head by a swing. Alexander fell backwards off of the swing and it reared back and hit him in the head, damaging the front lobe of his brain. He was never the same afterwards. He became aggressive, impulsive, and hostile, and later attended a school for students with learning disabilities. Alex's neighbor remembered him as a young man, always polite and loved animals, but he was introduced to death at a young age when his cat died. Then later, when his grandfather died, whom he was close with and lived with. After his grandfather died, as a child, Pichushkin would go walking in Moscow's Bitvensky Park with his dog. He grew depressed when it died.
Alexander first killed in 1992 when he was just 18, killing the boyfriend of a neighbor he had fallen in love with.
The boy was found dead in his apartment. Police initially believed it was a suicide.
He didn't murder again until the early 2000s when he began killing people where his grandfather used to take him to play chess and he used to walk his dog as a kid. Often targeting the elderly or poor, he lured his victims to the park to reportedly drink with him at his dead dog's grave. It's unknown if the dog was really buried there. Pichushkin waited until his intended victim was intoxicated, then hit him or her repeatedly with a blunt instrument like a hammer or piece of pipe. The mystery killer became known as the Bitsia Park Maniac. By June 2006, police had found 13 more bodies, all battered in the back of the head with a hammer, and all had a bottle or large stick protruding from the gaping wound in their head.
Alexander killed Marina Makalieva, a woman he worked with at a supermarket. She had left a note for her son to tell him that she was taking a walk with Alexander.
Я на самом деле совершил 61 убийство. Все 60 из них я совершил в Бисовском парке. Я 14 лет делал, что я хотел.
Pichushkin had kept a small notebook in his pocket on which he had sketched out a chessboard. Each square had a date written in it that corresponded with one of his murders. At the time of his arrest, 61 of the 64 squares on the chessboard were filled. Alexander Pichushkin wanted to commit one murder for each of the 64 squares on his chessboard. His ambition was to beat the record of 62 victims set by Russian cannibal Andrei Chikatilo in 1992. Alexander Pichushkin leaned against the wall of his reinforced glass cage in the courtroom and stared at the floor as the jury foreman took about an hour to read the verdict.
The judge ordered Pichushkin to receive compulsory psychiatric therapy, saying the defendant had a mental disorder but is still sane and cannot avoid responsibility for his crimes.
Showing no remorse, he later argued that he should be charged with more murders, keeping his claim of killing 61 people. He said, "I thought it would be unfair to forget about the other 11 people," during his 2007 trial. The jury deliberated for only 3 hours before finding him guilty of 48 counts of murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. Shortly after the trial, Pichushkin was sentenced to life in prison. The hideous nature of his crimes has renewed interest in reinstituting Russia's death penalty.
The blonde woman named only Natalia claimed it was love at first sight with the jail killer. She claimed, "My husband was beating me and cheating on me with a friend of mine. I was trying to forget about it by getting myself drunk. Sometimes it was going on for days, weeks, months. Everything changed when they showed the Bitsia Maniac on TV." She has been communicating with the mass killer for the past 5 years after the end of her own joyless marriage.